Hello, good morning. My name is Carolina Ramirez, and today my team number 2 we're going to expose a presentation about the muscular system. My team is composed by Alondra Delgado, Samantha Hernandez, Joyce Perez, Emiliano Ledesma, Anuar Gerardo, and your servant Carolina Ramirez.
To start with the presentation, we have the structure and function. Now I'm going to talk about the muscle cells. The muscle cells contain protein filaments called myelofibers of actin and myosin that slide past one to another. The muscle cells contracted the capacity that is shortened in length and then return to the original form. Cytoskeleton feature the possibility to contract. The muscle cells are classified into two types. The first one is striated, that can be skeletal and cardiac muscles, and the second one is small, that are visceral like intestine, stomach, and blood vessels.
Skeletal striated muscles are elongated and multinucleated cells of cylindrical morphology. The cytoplasm of each skeletal striated muscle cells contain the control apparatus constituted by the myofibrils, which are the thin filaments of actin and thin filaments of myosin. Both form the sarcomere. Sarcomere are limited by C-lines or discs, which are formed by protein called alpha-actinin. These thin and thick filaments adhere to the C-disc. Components of the sarcomere: thin filament of actin and other proteins, thick filament of myosin, C-disc or lines.
Connective tissue sheets. Too many factors explain the association of the connective tissue with the muscle. The first is that the vascular elements arrive at the muscle through the tissue and open the capillary networks that nourish the rhabdomyocytes. Second, the sheet covering the muscle extends beyond the tendons, and these connect with the posterior covering the bone.
Other structures needed for the muscular system to work. The tendons connect the muscles with the bones. The ligaments bind the bones to each one. Each muscle must have its fasciculus and differential from the rest of what surrounds it by the epimysium. If the muscle mass shortens, contracts, the tendon also moves and inserts into the periosteum that covers the bone, and by the association, the bones also move.
Function of muscular system. In human anatomy, the muscular system is the set of more than 615 muscles in the body, whose main function is to generate movement, either voluntary or involuntary skeletal and visual muscles, respectively. Some of the muscles can be trained in both ways, which is often categorized as mixed functional muscle groups. To perform different movements, muscles work in groups to control the movement of the joints. These movements are classified in agonists of main muscle, synergies, antagonists, and fixed
Diseases and injuries. There are many problems that can affect the muscles. Muscle disease can cause weakness, pain, or even paralysis. Some known are injury or overdose, as in strains and sprains, cramps and tendonitis, genetic social muscular dystrophy, cancer, inflammation, social mitosis, nerve diseases affecting the
vocabulary. In a family of globular proteins that form microfilaments, one of the three fundamental components of the cytoskeleton of the cell's eukaryotic organisms.
The myosin. The myosin is a protein formed in muscle fibers in order to bind to actin protein, generate the muscle contraction, and therefore the movements we perform with our body limbs, and the contraction generated by our heart.
Muscle sheets, a fibrous membrane usually quite thin and devoid of fat, surrounding a single muscle separating from adjacent muscles and allowing movements between them related to contraction.
Muscle sheets, a fibrous membrane, usually quite thin and devoid of fat, surrounding a single muscle, separating it from adjacent muscles and allowing movement between them related to contraction.
Myofibril, a structure that passes through the cells of the muscle tissue and gives them the property of the elasticity, which allows the movement of the muscle to be carried out. Relaxation. Putting a loose or slack thing the rope relaxes with the pulse, in this case of muscle.
Injuries. Harm or hurt, usually applied to damage inflicted on the body by an external force. Called also trauma and wound. Myositis. Myositis is a muscle inflammation. It is also known as idiopathic inflammatory myopathies and is considered a rare disease occurring in 1 or 2 cases per million inhabitants per year.
And that's all for this presentation. We hope that you like it, you enjoyed it, and you learned some new things about this topic. Thanks for your attention.